Hey guys, it's Allison here. When I was making my page yesterday for the St. Patrick's Day parade, I said something about using these glasses on another 12 by 12. What I really meant was using them on a double page spread, which is what I'm going to do today. So I have cut off the little ear stems and I was going to leave it just like that, but then the little sort of bits at the edge were getting in the way of the design. I felt they didn't fit right, so I trimmed it off so that all you have is the clover leaf glasses part of it. And then I have pulled out some photos, and as you can see, I've got one large 6x8 of a bunch of balloons. I thought it added a bit of texture, I guess, to the page, a bit of background context. So I'm just arranging my photos. I had, everything was printed at 4x6 except for that giant one of the balloons. And then the two on the left there, the one with the pot of gold and then the one below that, I have just trimmed to 4x4, just so I could focus on what I wanted to, the subject in the photo. And then on the right-hand side, I trimmed one of the 4x6 photos down to 3x4, just so I could focus in again on the little girl that's all dressed up and handing out candy. I thought she was really sweet looking. I don't know her, but she was a fun part of the parade and my kids quite liked her. So I'm just getting my papers ready, and I have pulled out a sheet. I've just gone through my stash basically. So I have an older sheet of My Mind's Eye, that dark green polka dot, and I've cut them into 2-inch strips. So I've got 4, and I'm going to put them across the top and the bottom of the layout basically. And then I found this striped paper, and it is a Fancy Pants Child's Play, I think was the collection. And I want to add it either to the top or the bottom, not both, but I don't want just another strip. So I have brought out that border punch to add a little bit of contrasting shape to the layout. And the stripe is a nice, I mean, it still brings in all the greens, but it brings in some of the other colors too. There's some blue in it and some orange, and then the background is a kind of beigey color. So it all works together, and it doesn't take away from the photos at all. It just sort of highlights everything nicely. So now I have a 8-inch tall sort of section in the middle there that I can just fill with my photos. And because I have so many photos from this day, this type of layout is really handy, where you can just fill that whole middle section with all the photos that you have. I did take that photo of the leprechaun, and I just trimmed, it was about maybe ½ an inch off the top, because I didn't want it to go all the way to the top of the page. I wanted you to be able to see the green polka dot up there, and that's the only reason why I did that. And now to the bottom, I'm adding some green washi tape. This is the same green washi tape I used on yesterday's layout, the single page. And there's a couple of elements that I'm going to pull from that page into this page, so that when you're flipping through the album, the pages relate to one another. I mean, obviously it's the same event, and the colors are going to be very similar because they're all green, but it's nice to have similar elements from page to page as well, so that it feels like the same story. And I just had to pull that photo up again so that I could put down that border strip. And now I'm just trimming off, for whatever reason, I don't know if you find this, but whenever I cut 12-inch strips of things, it always seems to hang over the edge just a little bit. So something is not 12 inches. So now I'm looking for something to match that small photo of the little girl, because I don't want it to stand out, like to be highlighted overly much, but I do want it to stand out a little bit from the photo of the leprechaun, just so we know that it's not all part of the same photograph. So I went through some of my scraps that I had from the page yesterday, and I just pulled out that striped paper from the Glitter Girl collection, and that just adds enough of a frame that you can definitely tell that it's a different photograph, but it's not highlighted as in, oh, look, this whole page is about this little girl. And that's not the point. So now I am digging through all the other bits and pieces that I have laying around my desk from yesterday, and I definitely starting with these shamrocks again. I love all the layers in them. It creates great texture and height without having to add a whole bunch of foam adhesive. So now I've just gone hunting for the same stickers that I used on yesterday's layout. And I have decided to use this scripty font from Bella Boulevard that I didn't use yesterday. But today the white will work where I want to put the title. So I'm definitely going to use those. And I've just pulled a few of the label stickers from those sheets. I think they were Echo Park sheets. They're like Everyday Collection or something like that. I've just pulled them up, put them up to the top, and I will work them into my embellishment areas once I get there. So now I am putting my title in, and I decide to use these glasses as a place to have my title. I was finding it a little tricky to completely work them into the page. So having the title on them like this makes them feel not quite so much like I just slapped them on top of a giant photo, which I did, but having the title on there, and then I work some of the embellishments sort of on top of the glasses down at the bottom left corner there, it all makes it seem like it was all on purpose. I don't know if that sounds right, but you know what I mean. So now I'm just working in a few other things. So that sheet that had the green doilies that I used yesterday also had a bunch of yellow ones. So I decided to pull those in today. And there was a yellow label sticker that had that sort of scrolly border that matched my border strip that I punched. And I just cut it in two so I could have it in two places. And I've put the date up there on the top left and one of the word label stickers. And then down on the bottom right, I placed the other half of that yellow label with another word sticker. And then I eventually write the word Vancouver in there just so I can remember that we actually went into Vancouver to see this parade. It wasn't a local one. And the third label sticker has been popped up with a foam tape and is going to go down there by the glasses. And you may be wondering about that block of white on the left. That is where my journaling is going to go. But I do want to bring across that same paper that I used to mat the little girl's photo. But all I have left from the 6x6 pad is this one little rectangle. So what I end up doing is I cut it into 1/4-inch strips basically, and then I just line them up as best I can. And there's this last one. It takes me a little bit of effort. I have to keep sort of cutting it, and then the pattern doesn't quite match exactly. So I know that I will have to do something to cover that join. But the other one is pretty seamless. It's hard to tell that there's a join there at all. But it adds a nice accent bit over there on the left. And then I decide that I'm going to punch some circles from the little scrap of the rainbow paper that I had left over and try and punch out the rainbows because that picture with the pot of gold, it's hard to see in that picture. And in fact, I have another picture where you can see it, but I wanted the focus to be on the pot of gold for this particular layout. It's got a rainbow of balloons that come out from the top of the pot of gold. So the little rainbows on that pattern paper totally go with the whole concept of St. Patrick's Day and this parade and rainbows and all that kind of good stuff. So now I'm just getting my journaling in, and I decide to write it in sort of a point form. I've titled this as Favorite Memories. So what I do is I jot down point form what the pictures are about. So there was a lot of dancers in this parade, and I'll make another layout talking about all the different bands that were in the parade, because there's a lot of different pipe bands. But this one I'm just talking about the things that the girls really focused on, because my two younger ones did not like the bands at all. Too loud. But they liked the dancers, and they liked all the girls and the fun floats. And then that leprechaun gave them chocolate coins, I think. And the little girl that was all dressed up, she was handing out candy. So these are the things that my girls really loved at that age. So I'm almost done. So I'm just adding the final touches, which for me is usually enamel dots. And in this case, I am using some enamel dots and then more of those jewels that I had on the previous layout. And the enamel dots are from Doodlebug. There are some of they have these lines that have different shades of the same color in a pack. And so I've used 3 different colored enamel dots in each embellishment area. And last but not least was some gold mist. And here's the finished layout. And the one thing I did with my gold mist is I did not cover my photos. I decided to actually purposefully splatter the photos. I really wanted to emphasize the gold aspect of it and how the leprechauns were handing out gold. And that's, to me, is part of St. Patrick's Day. Okay, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.